And in goes Sybil just to die, it looks like. Teleport now coming in. Paprise looking for the reset, but will not get them. Gets one, gets the stun out, has to flash, gets shut down, and the Chiefs take the team
And
fight.
Tectonic were in such a good position.
Raze will now be up and available, but they've done it. Tectonic take game one.
What on earth just happened?
This is a team fight that somehow, some way, Tectonic are winning. Double kill now for Paprise, and it is only Raze left. Triple kill for Paprise.
And disappointment for the Chiefs.
But once again, Tectonic will take out one of the top dogs in the OPL.
Apparently no one is ready for trans.
Sub 28 minutes. Taunt lands one more time from Cupcake. At this point, he's just styling on him. Triple goes back in. Will not be denied, and Dire will pick up game number one. 1,000 Shogun gets in, does not get it. Cupcake goes over the back. One more time, Headbutt Pulve is there. They actually get King this time, and it might be Legacy turning it around, but King, he is just too tanky. In goes Bio Panther, and Legacy get destroyed. Only 2 members left. Direwolf, in very clean fashion, will pick up another 2-0 and secure top spot on the OPL ladder. Hello and welcome to Week 5, Day number 1 of the OPL, of course, brought to you by Hungry Jacks. I'm Jake Spawn Tiberi. Joining me is Bryce, EJ, and Paul. We've had a week off, Bryce. You feeling refreshed? Like, what's been going on?
You know, I didn't do a whole lot of much. You know, I played some League of Legends. I'm playing in bursts here and there. One day I just play 6 games. The next day I play 0, but I'm getting back into it.
How you been going?
I got back to Challenger, you know. I decayed from casting Rift Rivals, no longer going to tournaments. I was just talking about it, you know, behind the microphone, and then I decayed to Diamond 1. But Big Sammy D, Big Spooks, me and him, duo, got me back to Challenger.
So you were carried back into
Challenger.
Challenger.
I did my fair
However, we
share
also
of
had
carrying.
Rift Rivals, and we won, Bryce.
Yes,
we
we
won
did.
an international tournament. How did that feel?
Yes, very good, you know. Just very good. Like, overall, it was a bit weird. I feel like Japan kind of underperformed in terms of expectations coming into the tournament, but the fact that we got an Oceanic International Tournament in Sydney that we then won, absolute banger.
Yeah, it certainly was. 2 members that are overperforming, and hopefully they can do so tonight as well, is Nick, as well as Johnny Cyclone Weatherly, who are alongside us on the couch. Nick, how you going?
I'm doing great. I'm here with Johnny Cyclone Weatherly. I miss the Rift Rivals music intro, which we used to play all the time. The drums, that would hype me up before we started. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, Oceania won, man.
Oceania won. So here's the trophy. Obviously, it's very beautiful. This is something that North America don't have, but apparently OPL does. So, you know, how did that work out? Now, obviously, Tectonic weren't there, but this is still your trophy because this is an OPL trophy. This is not the team's trophy. So congratulations on your win.
Thank you. We worked really hard for it.
And now this is where you say congratulations on your win because I'm also part of the OPL.
Yeah, of course. I suppose. Honorarily.
Are you going to say it? Look, I worked really hard. I'd like to thank my mum, my dad, and God, because they're the people that brought me here. Of course, we have a whole show of content coming up for you guys tonight. Since this is Cyclone's first night on the couch, we thought we would do a bit of a Q&A with you coming up next. So if you guys have questions for him, whether it's about Tectonic's incredible performance this split, or anything that's got to do with him winning this trophy, or him not asking me the question that I fed him because I wanted also to claim the trophy, then let us know. Use the hashtag IamOPL in the chat. We'll also be doing a one right answer, which is a very fun thing where basically you just need to have very strong opinions. And third piece of business, does anyone know how to use the Instagram stories question thing, where when you ask a question on Instagram, how do you put a picture as the background when you're answering them? Because Jake has no idea how to do it.
And the thing is that I've asked 2 social media people, 2 people that are in charge of social media, in Lauren and Mitchie. 1 social media for Order, 1 social media for the OPL, and neither of them have been able to give me an answer. Bryce, do you have an answer for me?
No, my Instagram is awful. I'm a Twitter fiend. I have no idea.
Johnny, are you Instagram proficient?
No, proficient's not a word you'd use.
Proficient's not a word I'd use. Okay, cool. Well, if anyone does know, please let us know how you add a custom picture to the background of an answer to an Instagram story. That's the most important business of tonight. Back to you guys.
All right, cool. Well, we are going to get into some League of Legends action. First game of the night off the rank is going to be Order taking on the Bombers in the Melbourne rivalry head-to-head clash. Both of these teams coming off very hot wins. One against Mammoth and the other one, obviously, against Avant Gaming. Bryce, where do you see these 2 teams stacking up?
I think it's pretty interesting. Order throughout the split have seemed fairly rocky at times. Obviously, upset loss to Tectonic, but then very dominant victory over AV. Both these teams have beaten AV so far, and they just want to come in. I feel like they come in as the favorites, but they need to prove that they can have a clean game. Whereas Bombers coming fresh off a win, you know, like they want to ride that momentum.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's going to be the schedule for the weekend's games on your screen. It's going to be Order versus Bombers, of course, Chiefs versus Direwolves tonight. Tomorrow, it is going to be Mammoth versus Tectonic and Legacy versus Avant Gaming. I do want to touch on the Tectonic point because after they took down the Chiefs, I think it's time that we acknowledged, as we did with New Aatrox, that maybe Tectonic just isn't that bad.
Not that bad. Very nice. Very nice, by the way. But I'm definitely a creature of habit. And going and looking at scheduling and then all of a sudden like seeing Tectonic, like I'm going to be honest, I'm like, oh, they've had like an easy run, you know what I mean? But like Tectonic, when they're on the list of teams playing against them, they're now sitting third on the ladder. So like things have definitely shaken up this week.
The only team to ever 2-0 Order is Tectonic and also able to take down the Chiefs in emphatic fashion for third place right now. Cannot sleep on them. But let's get into the lineups of today. First, starting on your blue side, I assume it's going to be the boys from Melbourne in order. Tally is their top laner. Spooks is their jungler. Swiffer in the mid lane. FBI and Rogue are playing bottom lane. And I'm going to say that from now on because crazy things have been happening at Rift Rivals. And of course, Choo Choo's Aaron Bland Z is their coach.
We haven't seen OPL on patch 8.13. I'm interested to see what teams make of this patch, coming back into professional play domestically, not playing against Southeast Asia, not playing against Japan, where the teams back at home, I expect, would have tried to get scrims with those international teams even, and then just watch the tournament as well. So interesting to see what teams pull out today. Absolutely.
And I know that you've got a new way to describe Order, that you've been chomping at the bit to give me the rundown of what my team is like, Bryce. Give it to me. You have the open floor.
You're just a mallet. Order, they pick CC, they pick Galio, they pick Rakan, they pick Ali, they pick Camille, and they just go in. And they're just a hammer, and they just whack away. There's no finesse to it. It's just a like solid, they just like smash your team, and either you win or they win. And that's the game plan.
And unorthodox here. However, I do have someone on hand that has coached you in the past in Cyclone. Cyclone, I would like to get your opinion on how Bryce plays League of Legends. Would you describe him as a mallet-like player?
He's almost more like a jouster. Like he's got his horse and he's got his lance and he's just going in, you know?
I like that.
I would argue, though, a joust is merely a pointy mallet.
Absolutely, because my thing is I just think, you know, when you see yourself in other people, I just think you see a little bit of Bryce Egan Paul in Order, Bryce, and I think that you like to claim credit for it. However, let's get into the other lineup. It's going to be the Bombers. Up in the top lane, they have Sleeping. Seb is their jungler, Luch their superstar mid laner, and Tiger, a man that popped off last week, well, 2 weeks ago against Avant Gaming, is going to be in the bottom lane with Rosie. Windows Monkey, of course, their coach. And now this is a team that I feel like recency bias is going to come heavily into analysis of this team because they looked very ordinary for the first 3 weeks. They look like the worst team in the competition for the first 3 weeks. However, they smashed Avant Gaming 2 weeks ago.
Who are now sitting in 8th place, you know, so...
Sole possession.
Yeah, something to say about that, but absolutely they have looked pretty good. I really like that they double down on their style, you know? Like, Luch isn't going to play engage for this team. Rosie, he's like a bit of a hipster in the bottom lane. He's played Talia support. He likes to pick the Bard. Sleeping, we've talked about, has a preference for carries, but did play a lot of Mundo. So, like, they're just blind picking Seb Sejuani. They're like, look, Seb, it sucks. You're going to get trundled immediately as you pick this one up, but they just pick CC from the jungle, and they just go for their style, and I feel like it unlocked Tiger to have the performance that he did a couple of weeks ago versus AV, and I like that it might not be traditional in what you see currently in the meta with Nocturne, with Talia running around the jungle, but it's a style that suits them, and that's how they look best.
So potentially today we're going to have two teams going head-to-head, not necessarily playing the meta style, but playing what is working for them right now. We see on the blue side, Order ban away Morgana as well as Nocturne. Red side, actually the first Aatrox ban we're going to see, as well as Galio.
Yep. Get rid of Swiffer's Galio. He played 3 games of it, but also the Aatrox we have to talk about. Of course, coming out of Rift Rivals, not that bad in the top lane, but when you take Smite and you take him into the mid lane, he's absolutely disgusting. You start level 2.
What they did is they took a not that bad champion, so an above average champion, and then they hot fixed him due to community backlash and bumped him up, much like they did with Zoe, I might add, a champion that has just hit the bench, and now have made what is probably, and I'm going to go out on the limb here, and say Zoe included, Aatrox, new Aatrox, is the most broken champion that has been released in League of Legends like the last 3 years.
Everyone always talks about releases in Zhao.
Yeah, but he
But
was like
I
ages ago.
don't remember
So
what that was like. So
I played during that. LeBlanc was worse. They actually
true.
reverted her like immediately. It's going to be Rakan, Swain Hover right now, and lock-in for the Bombers.
And this is interesting in terms of how Order drafts. Traditionally, without huge power picks available for a standard 80 carry support bottom lane, you expect the 80 carry to be the one blind pick, but Order, they're just like, who cares? Rogue, obviously very comfortable on the engage tool in the Rakan, so Order do this a lot where they just blind pick Rakan. They're happy to play Xayah with it, so you have that Lovers do it. They're happy to play other things, so it is versatile.
And they've already locked in Swain, which is the flex. Do you maintain the flex and not pick away the Xayah? I guess the answer is yes right now, as they actually take a more disengage jungle champion for Seb right here. I know you liked the engage 2 weeks ago.
And that's pretty interesting, I think. Swain, of course, flex between mid and top sleeping. Probably can play it topside, but you don't really see it up there all too much. Seb just going back to basics with that Trundle, but I feel like when you have a huge power threat that you expect it to come out from the Bombers, you expect Order to take the Xayah as soon as you give them that opportunity. All of a sudden, bot lane is going to be a huge pressure point for Order. You're a Trundle. That is a very hard lane to influence, no matter really what you pick down there.
Certainly is. You're getting your zoom in right now of Jimmy Shoot's hand is in bandages. And Xayah Rakan, even though Xayah hasn't seen all that much play, Order did play it bottom lane and played it to very good success.
Yeah, the last series, I talked about the Swifters Galio, but that's what they picked. Tally was playing things like GP topside, just playing weak side, and they played all through the bottom lane constantly.
Global champion for
looks
the
like
jungle
they might
role.
be doing it again.
Potentially Spooks' pick up there. Could go to Swiffer in the mid lane if something really messes up Spooks' day, but I would expect him to take Talia.
This is our thing, you know. When Aurelia gets locked in, we're like, oh, that's a flex into all three roles, but we haven't seen it in the bottom lane. And every week Talia gets picked, you're like, yeah, that's a flex between the jungle and the mid lane, but we have yet to see it in OS.
Yeah, we really haven't seen it in OS. Do you find that strange that because we had some good Talia players? Swiffer was a good Talia player. Triple was a good Talia player.
Yep.
Ryoma? Ryoma is a great Talia player, in fact.
But not really all that much experimentation here. As Sleeping's got to go back to the Mundo. Had pretty decent performances. Solo killed Pabu in the Aatrox matchup at like level 3, something like that. So gets
old
his hands.
Aatrox, new Aatrox.
Yep.
Destroys Mundo.
Yep. That was old Aatrox. Pre-broken.
Yep.
He went from like literal garbage to pretty good to like rework obscenely broken in the span of a couple of months.
Yeah. If you
Man,
saw him
that's
in your
weird.
game, it was nearly, and it was obviously was not a reportable offense, but it was nearly.
It was approaching reportable
It was
offense
approaching,
category.
and then all of a sudden he just blew up.
Yep.
The Giznu's build just like made him insane. It's going to be Darius banned away for the Mundo. It's going to be Alistar taken off the board, so trying to hit the engage potential of the Bombers right now. Gangplank banned away from Tally.
Yep, obviously not willing to give them that weak side champion. Tally is happy to just play up there. Just allows Order to, even if you get the Gangplank set behind, they can just play to the other side of the map. He can cancel out like tempo in terms of just ulting a wave and buying some time. So they obviously get rid of the Darius. They can bully around something like the Mundo. They get rid of the GP because maybe Bombers don't really want to expend resources trying to shut him down.
And they respect the Pyke. Swain Pyke is one of my favorite lanes at the moment. I just think it's so entertaining to watch when Swain can use the pull, how the flip back works, and they have a lot of consistent damage with the execute to continue the chain.
Not to mention the early ganks are just so successful. And we talk about week after week how Pyke's early laning phase is not that great, but he can just E-flash immediately. Swain can rip back, things like that. But of course, with the Kai'Sa lock-in, it's probably just going to be Swain in the mid lane.
And very interesting that they go with Kai'Sa here, because that is a pickup that we have seen a lot, but not so much lately. And Swain has been showing so much success lately in that bottom lane role.
Shen Hover coming out from Order.
Makes sense with the weak side composition they're putting together.
It does. We haven't seen it topside much. Gets locked in much more frequently recently as a support
I
pick.
mean, they
You
already
that
have a Rakan.
E-flash. That's what I mean. Like, we haven't seen it too much in the top lane, of course. Stylistically, it makes sense.
And Vladimir the lock-in here. So Vladimir mid lane, I guess, is the pick up there.
No Talia flex pick into the mid lane. Just going to be a pretty standard composition here from Order. And it makes a lot of sense, you know, going back to the basics. They're a team that I feel like this season has struggled to translate what everybody talks about, their potential onto stage. They have had a few very rough games. They've had a very few good games.
Bryce, I don't want to do this to you. However, FBI does have
Rakan.
Smite.
Okay, I was going to say Rakan. Okay. Standard composition.
Spooks does not
Out the window.
have smite.
First of all, it was a pretty standard support in the Fiddlesticks locked in.
Yep.
So strong traditional bottom lane, but you do mention Swiffer's got the Talia. Spooks has himself a Shen. Tally's taken the Vlad into the top lane, and that's a smite. The AD carrying support duo. So strap yourself in, because what is this? This is
Have to
interesting.
see what the case is. On the side of Bombers, you have to say the most standard lineup you can arguably have. Tank top laner, tank jungle, mage in the mid lane, AD carry support. Bottom lane, Fiddlesticks, a little bit fringe, but is very strong at the moment, especially with Aftershock. However, Order, I want you to talk me through this, Bryce. What have they got going on here?
I mean, Swiffer's gone back to the Talia. You know, he's played that a whole lot. Spooks on the Shen. You feel like this is a funnel because FBI has the smite, right? You expect maybe the Zyra Khan to be playing in the mid lane, then just pushing in, going to farm up the jungle camp. Spooks, you expect with Swiffer maybe in the bottom lane. You have that Shen. I talked about that it's probably going topside, but it looks at this point to just be a traditional quote-unquote support for the Talia bottom lane. Tally's got himself Vlad. So it's pretty interesting. That's what I expect, but who knows?
All right, well, the man that probably does have the answers, as we are about to get onto Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of Order versus the Bombers, is Choo Choo's. Choo Choo's, you looked like you had a very standard top comp. If you put Shen top, Talia jungle, Vlad mid, you can run this completely standard.
Well, I guess we got you guys as well. But I think Rakana's probably one. I think Swain and Rakana are probably the 2 picks that flex funnel and standard the best at the moment. And they gave us one of them. So I guess we got them a little confused as well.
So is this a funnel comp?
Well, I mean, yeah. But like you'll see in the next 10 seconds when we get into game that FBI will take smite.
So we already saw the smite. I was wondering, like, is it weird, weird priority bottom lane where you go take scuttle crabs and stuff, or are they going to be heading towards mid lane? How does this work out?
I think only Karthus can do that.
Okay.
But no, this should be standard funnel.
You
Okay,
got anything for him?
Yeah, I want to ask you not so much about this game, of course, Rift Rivals. We won.
Cool.
But you guys, of course, weren't competing there. Like, what did the break do for you guys as Order? You mentioned, like, you were going to try and find scrims with the international teams last time we spoke on broadcast. Like, how did the break kind of break down for you guys in Order?
It wasn't really a break. Like, we still maintained the same schedule. There just weren't, like, OPL games. We had a lot of stuff to watch. We weren't necessarily, like, watching, like, Chiefs, Legacy, and Dials and trying to, like, pick out what we can exploit from them, but like we just wanted to see like how we varied against these other teams. We did scrim against these international teams, so I think everyone in the region gained a lot of perspective, and we definitely benefited as well.
And talk to us about that, because obviously you got to see our pod, but then you also got to see NA versus EU, which was like bonkers, like Aatrox, Heimerdinger running around. Then LCK LPL, which was also very, very strange. Like, were you able to take things away from that? Like, what did you make of the global meta, and where do you see it's at the moment?
Yeah, it's a very interesting patch because, as you can see in all the Rift Rivals, everyone's prioritizing different things. I mean, as soon as I think a really good example was Aatrox. Like Aatrox rework, everyone didn't really feel too hot about him. We even saw him like played in the OPL, sorry, like the Oceanic like Rift Rivals in Sydney, and like it just did not look good. And then we see them like first picking it in Korea, and everyone kind of like everyone learns a lot from each other, even if it's across the world.
Cool. And the last question I have you got anything? Or? All right, last question I have. Tally, obviously bandage on his hand. What's going on there? People, like, it's just been zoomed in a lot. Obviously, I know, but like, what is the...
Cameraman
what
and
is the
chance
problem
select.
stuff
there?
you
Why
guys
has he
wanna
got
see?
why has he got a bandage on his hand?
James, I'm not sure if many people know back when he was on Legacy, but he suffers like he's a poor wrist. He's been, we don't necessarily know what he's done to it, but it is hurting a little bit, so he's bandaged it up. But he feels a lot better today because we've given him a bit of a rest.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck
No worries,
in this
thank you.
game. Obviously, Choo Choo's coach of Order. And Bryce, Order has played Funnel once before, we must remember. Tristana Tarek, but not in this combination. It was actually Spooks playing the support for FBI, and Rogue played a support for Swiffer. Now they've seemed to swap it up. Do you like the fact that Swiffer and Spooks are landing together and FBI and Rogue are playing together?
There is that inbuilt synergy. These players on different teams before they joined Order have been playing together for a very long time, so I like that the duos in terms of players are back together. We had that conversation in the game. I was the Tristana Tarek composition that, unfortunately, FBI decided to dash all the way into the Tribush on Tristana and got blown up before Tarek had his ultimate. And the game was a complete disaster, but Here, level 1, we saw teams order grouping up on the top side of the map. They invade top side, get a ward on the red buff, try get some vision down. Bombers did the same bottom side, they answer, so ultimately just trying to match sides of the map, but Scuttle Crab's starting to take away.
And this is why I was surprised to see Swain mid lane, because Zaya Rakan has been very popular as a funnel internationally. And Swain mid deals very poorly with it. He doesn't have shove until like level 7, just because his Q, even though it's good persistent harass, he's more about harassing you through the minion wave as opposed to hard shoving and hitting turrets. And then they didn't lock in something like the Nocturne, obviously banned away, but also would help shoving into the turret. Trundle doesn't do that at all. So instead you can see Luch has no other choice but to freeze at this stage, which is exactly what the funnel wants.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting to talk about Swain in a 1 versus 1 comparative to a 2v1. Like, when you can bully around a single person, when you have CC that can lock you down, like against a Zaya, if you can just rip her forward, you can hit her with a Q and then just walk away. But if you try that with a Rakan around, he's going to CC you, Zaya's going to line up the CC, so is very difficult. In terms of dealing with the funnel, you've seen a bunch of different tactics. As you talked about, like heavy skirmish junglers early can kind of take it to the funnel when they're doing camps, because this sort of composition is very broadcast in what they want to do. Legacy at Rift Rivals, they picked a Tahm Kench and they just played it slow early and then played the macro game and took their bottom lane top, tried to break open the map, things like that. But in this situation, there's no Tahm Kench. You talked about the Trundle, there's no really early skirmish potential, so Bombers sort of limited in what they can do here.
And you can see that Tiger and Rosie, as you would expect in a 2v2, are up 7 CS. So doing very nicely here. Rosie is going for Summon Airy as opposed to Aftershock, so a little bit more harass coming out of this Fiddlesticks.
So James take the Comet at Rift Rivals, but we haven't seen Summon Airy for a long time. It's more consistent, shorter cooldown, so every time you're casting that E, it bounces. You can get procs off consistently. You see Swiffer does actually have 0 potions in the bottom lane right now, has the Doran's Ring, so started with 2. And of course, isn't a traditional marksman in the sense that he takes TP on this patch. He's gone for the heal, so doesn't really have a whole lot of sustain, barring Spooks actually going in.
Flashing in, and that is going to be Ignite. First blood picked up for Spooks in the bottom lane.
And just as they were getting shoved in, half HP, that's what Shen can do. Immediately pulls the trigger, Fiddlesticks. No Aftershock if he can't fear you. And the CC just lands immediately, so much damage, and they pick up an easy kill.
Yeah, certainly do so, even though they're behind in CS by a fair whack. That will get the lane back slightly in their favor. See Seb actually starting up an Infernal Dragon. That is a big deal right now.
Yeah, absolutely lucky that that was the one to spawn, so we'll just be able to solo this one out fairly easily. Of course, Spooks is going to have to wait 5 minutes before that can happen again. Rosie didn't burn any summoners. He just died immediately, so goes back to base, actually opts in for the pink ward plus the ruby crystal. So he basically had enough gold to wait around and buy his spell piece if he wanted. Still had health potions available, but he's like, look, I need to survive the all-in. That's the only thing that Talia and the Shen can do to me. So he buys the ruby crystal, plays it safe.
As Luke tries to steal some camps away, however, nicely waited out by FBI. You can see actually a concerted counter-jungling effort now coming out of Seb and Rosie.
Makes sense here, you know, they have to go back towards the mid lane to cancel out the wave. That reset kind of hurts.
Yeah, it certainly does. Should cost them a little bit of gold now. However, Pillar is available. Rogue just going to walk away from this one. Rosie looking in the mid lane. That is a good Pillar. Rip back. Fear is also there. However, you can see they just dissuade them.
FBI just ding 6. You know, they can't commit to the play. They have to walk so far forward. All of a sudden, FBI goes invulnerable with the Featherstorm, and the collapse was available from Spooks. It hits the Blast Plant, so Bombers, they pillar, they rip, but ultimately they just walk away.
Flick is also there. That is big damage coming across. Swiffer kills Rosie again.
And he has Flash. He could have used it to get over the wall, get out of reach of the Talia. The Blast Plant was still up and available, but doesn't hit any button. And he's 0-2-0 very early into this game.
And funnel comps do not snowball gold-wise ahead at the start of the game. They actually generally fall down. So the fact that this is an equal gold game, in fact, ought to have an advantage in the gold, is horrible news. Because once FBI gets, actually walking up.
Can they close
Flick is there, gets the flash out.
Very nice use there. Flick means that Flash has to be burnt. Spooks wasn't in range for Taunt, but if that ever lands, there's just so much burst damage between the two. And to your point, yeah, it is very interesting because funnel comps, that's exactly what they do. They take the collected gold of the map and give it all to one person so they don't farm absolutely everything. Whereas where it's more spread out, you get better efficiency in terms of soaking up that between all 5 members. So, or to find themselves with a 200 gold lead when in a traditional game, if they were a standing composition, they'd probably be more like 1,000, 1.5 ahead.
Because you can see they haven't touched Gromp. They haven't touched themselves Spook's getting harassed a little bit, but they haven't touched double golems or Grom. So that's 2 camps that Seb has taken off rotation every single time that Order just have not taken at all.
That's just the nature of having 2 supports, you know, low econ. It's 10 CS and 0 CS for Shen and the Rakan versus 50 and 2 for the Fiddlesticks. So, as you can see there, top side of the map we haven't really talked about in terms of...
Do you want to talk about
Well, no, but it's an interesting point to make, right? Because Order don't care. This is exactly what they want. They blind picked a Mundo and then got a Vladimir matchup, so he can just hard farm. Tally's absolutely fine, going for the boots first purchase. Wants that CDR, just wants to play up here, play weak side. He's not going to get help because he doesn't have a traditional jungler, so the fact that Sleeping is on the Mundo and isn't really able to bully around the Vladimir, once again, bodes well for Order.
And I think the big thing was that Seb took Infernal Drake as opposed to bullying Tally. Because if he shows topside, the Xayah just goes and takes Dragon. There's nothing you can really do about it. She's too high level at the moment. So he took his time and said, I'm going to invest in the scaling. And we have seen historically that the way you shut down these comps is actually by getting big early game advantages and then pushing teamfight tempo while you have tanky items. Because eventually, FBI is going to get 2 items ahead of Luch. And when you have a crit 80 carry, this isn't the weird Devourer into Ginsu's build we saw last time. This is going to be Warrior, I assume, into a Zeal item into IE. Warrior is a very good transitional power spike for 80 carries.
Yep. And I think the one credit to Bomber's composition is that they have Trundle ult and they have a single target fear on the Fiddlestick.
Very nice rip back there, actually. They're going to go into ultimate. Pillar is there as well. That will be FBI using the ultimate. Big damage onto Shen. Shen's TO coming out as well. However, FBI will fall down. Multiple members coming in now from Order. That is going to be a return kill. Luch going forward. Will take one back, but it's a double kill over to Order and a double kill for Luch.
And they actually get onto FBI. Another fight, maybe on into the river.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be Swiffer falling down. Flash. Not expended, just Rosie's Ignite.
And it's just disastrous for Order right here. I was just saying they have the CC to lock down a single person. As soon as that rip lands, Subjugate comes out from Trundle and they can actually kill FBI, who doesn't have a stopwatch. It's too early into the game. Didn't take the Inspiration Tree. His ultimate wasn't enough, whereas the bulkiness of that Swain and the Trundle, they can withstand a lot of turret shots. So despite the fact that Tally gets down here, it cleans up the end of the fight, they can survive long enough to actually pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, I think a little bit of disrespect. Probably should have flashed earlier.
Yeah, Shen ulti comes through, but the blow up, that last little auto attack was enough to take down the kill. You see Fiddlesticks rotating up with the Talia. Sleeping has absolutely no business coming to this fight. He doesn't have TP, so he doesn't even try and walk, but Swiffer's just walking the greedy way. The mid lane gets cleaned up. He has summoners. He tries to burn the heal, but he's like, look, I'm dead anyway. And Bombers find themselves a nice bunch of kills. Now Gold lead almost dead even, and they have an Infernal Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Drake scaling going to be there. Same time, we see 4,100 gold picked up for the 80 carry.
And the big thing is you talk about the Xayah versus the Swain. Traditionally in these sort of compositions, you expect that lead to be vast, but all of a sudden Luch is on the back of those 2 kills, finished his Rod of Ages. He's just got a 300 gold lead.
I'm the opposite. See, once jungle item comes through, which is between 7 and 12 minutes, depending on how well you're farming, he actually went boots too, so it's going to be delayed further than that, is actually when Funnel Comps gets ahead. Funnel Comps early game stay even in gold. It's once you get to 2 items, then you farm exponentially quicker, because you have to think that as you get more items, you do more damage, and therefore you farm quick. Yep. As we see, meanwhile, Spooks and Swiffer looking for a...
Spooks has taunted, so he has no dash to get out of here.
Does have flash. Has to use it to get over the wall.
That's a big summoner burnt. We saw the value of Shen Flash taunt very early in the lane. Level 3, they picked up that kill, so Rosie waiting in the wings, does proc level 6 on the Fiddlestick, so the fact that he's waiting around Spooks pretty greedily, uses his taunt onto the Scuttle Crab, means that they just have to back away.
Yeah, going to be another Infernal Drake. That's going to be Tally having to burn his Ghost, however. We'll get some nice damage down onto Sleeping. Top lane turret pushing.
Spooks is actually on a flank here in the mid lane. Bombers, they do walk up. Seb.
That's going to be ultimate burn out of Rogue here. They do go in. In goes Tally as well. Great taunt coming across. The Flicks will miss, but Seb still falls down. That is going to be teleport burnt out of Sleeping. However, now it's a 5v4. Luch, very nice snare onto Swiffer. It will get blown up. Fiddle over the wall. Big damage coming out. Sleeping is very tanky right now. That will be the successful disengage, and no one from Order will die, although they are so low.
And that was a 3 versus 5. Bombers, they lose Seb early. Do they know? Don't pick up the kill onto Swiffer. They looked for the fight. It was
Tiger
so
wants it in the
good,
mid lane. However, we'll just take turret aggro and we'll have to back away. Order trying to successfully disengage this one.
And that really hurts if you're a Bombers fan. So many blinking health bars. FBI dodges the last bit of damage with the Feather Storm. Swiffer lives on almost literally 1 HP. But winning the fight means they earn the rights to the next dragon, and it's going to be double Infernal picked up for the Bombers.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be. So whilst the kill goes over, really, Bombers walk away with a big advantage there. Double scaling Drakes. And in a game that is going relatively even, especially since that they do have a traditional AD carry.
And that's the thing. You talk about these compositions, funnel. You don't want to play the scaling game against it, but they're winning enough fights early. They're keeping up in the battle. All of a sudden, double Infernal Drake, you mentioned. Sleeping on the Mundo, he scales very well. So does Trundle. So does the Kai'Sa. They have fairly reliable CC with the Fiddlesticks that can just be an absolute nuisance. And when you talk about supports, there's very few that actually scale with Infernal Drakes, but Fiddle happens to be one of them. So yeah, the fact that this double Infernal picked up for the Bombers is a big deal.
And you can see now jungle item picked up for Rogue, for FBI, able to tear through jungle camps, going to put 2 on cooldown between every wave. Seb doing a very nice job of clearing out topside vision right now.
Does he actually go topside? They have that pink. He's maybe thinking about going over the Rift Herald wall, but mid lane might need to be defended. Rosie leaving his bottom lane turret. It is incredibly low. That will be first brick because nobody's really made a play for it. So Seb looking to solo out the Rift Herald. Order, if they knew where Rosie was on the map right now, they would just be shoving this wave in, but they're constantly looking for the pick onto Tiger, so losing some tempo in the bottom lane.
Also denying a lot of CS. The one member that scales equally as well as Zaya in this composition is going to be the Kai'Sa. So you want to make sure that you're denying her farm as much as possible. Obviously, holding waves denies farm, as that's actually going to be Seb. Caught out, that's going to be Shen. Ultimate coming across as well. Tally will look for the kill here, however. It's given over to Spooks.
But that is a lot of ultimates burn on someone that was probably dead anyway. Flash did just come up, but wasn't available for about another 10 seconds. You talked about Shen ulti is so incredibly important, and it's such a long cooldown, so they burn that one. Seb does ultimately pick up the Rift Herald. It cost him his life.
Potentially thought that Rosie was going to come over the wall, so preemptively wanted to use it.
It was really nice that he pulled the Rift Herald over to the wall. So
oh, actually, in goes Tiger. Swiffer will not be able to pick up the kill here. Tiger actually just solos him.
And that's in a 1v1. If they had Shen ulti, they can't do that, but ultimate was burnt. Spooks was not around. That's a flashless Talia, so burns the heal and dies anyway.
And good guy FBI is going to come in here, and he's going to say, don't worry about it, Swiffer. Thanks for getting the turret so low.
I'll get the wave.
Spooks, if you could back out, please. I'm just going to take first turret gold for myself.
First ring. That's the most classic order situation I've ever seen in my life. And that's a big fat 600 gold that's going to go to FBI right now.
However, right now they're going to pop Rift Herald. Rogue will sacrifice his flash, his life, and his ultimate, but will ultimately save that turret.
Swiffer and Spooks walking out of base, but very nice cancel there. Did cost him the flash, so it's a pretty big cooldown, but they don't want to open up this map. They don't want Bombers who...
You can tell that was one of the calls where he was walking back and forward in the lane saying, do you want me to use my life and my flash to stop this?
It's also like, they actually had vision, but if you don't in those situations, you can see the Rift Herald being dropped. And if you have an inkling as a pro player, like you read the play the Bombers are trying to make, and you can kind of just guess as soon as you see it drop down, you flash in, look for where the Trundle is and cancel it anyway, so...
Because now this is the stage. We actually had equal items. We had one item to one item, boots to boots. But now we see FBI has gone back. He's got a rapid fire cannon. Now he's the half an item, actually probably a whole item given the fact that he's got boots 2 versus only boots 1 ahead. And from this point, in my experience from what I've seen of funnels internationally, this is when the funnel starts rapidly accelerating.
The map is open for order, right? They have the global of the Talia. Tally has the spellbook. He's been switching around summoners. He used the ghost earlier, now has the heal, but he can get back to the TP if he needs to. Turret will be matched on the bottom side of the map, so only a 2,000 gold lead for order, but as you mentioned, in terms of item spikes right now, Zaya very strong.
Crit item probably going to come out next. Maybe actually QSS. We've seen FBI build it much more often on his crit marksman.
When he went for the Lucian, and he didn't build that one. He actually went for the Essence Reaver and then got picked in that Galio composition against Mammoth time and time again. It was real rough, so maybe here
bad, man.
Learned his lesson, you know, invest in that defense early. We talked about the scaling, final composition. He's going to get so many resources, so it'll be fine that he can take the 1,300 gold loss right now and the fact that he will scale fine no matter what.
You can see everyone's kind of congregating around mid lane right now. Rogue will look to spot out where Rosie is.
Oh,
and actually, that's going to be the ultimate onto him. Fiddle goes for it and misses.
He doesn't get the fear, so that's just a W for an ultimate. Rosie burns everything. You can tell what they were looking for, right? Kai'Sa can actually get over the wall as soon as Fiddle lands that CC, as soon as he lands the fear. So they were looking for a dive, didn't find it. Unfortunately, didn't wait around long enough for Rogue to face checking. Tried to pull the trigger on a play, unfortunately.
Now with Kai'Sa
Not to
bottom
be.
lane, double support mid lane. You can see FBI just going to look for this turret. However, that is a nice rip back off a pillar. He has got turret aggro, but will just be shielded up.
Has shields, Shen ulti, the safety there as well, so it allows Order to break the complete outer ring of turrets. Swiffer, that whole time, was just farming it up on the top side. Now sitting on 120 CS, so pretty far behind, 50 behind the Kai'Sa, 40 behind the Swain, so trying to catch back up.
And this is something that I want to point out. Oh, actually, FBI might be caught here. There's no one else, and he's going to have to burn the flash and the ultimate. Will use them, however.
Rosie tried to get the flash instant fear, unfortunately. FBI makes the reaction play, he makes the read, and gets himself out.
And it was actually, my point was going to be, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. Mundo, obviously a very good MR tank.
Yep.
However, the itemization of Morel and Omicron away from mana has really, in my opinion, helped out things like Kennen, like Vladimir,
Yep.
in being able to deal with Mundo in the side lane because of that perpetual health. What do you think about the itemization changes? Does that open Mundo up to some counterplay now?
Yeah, absolutely. Execution is calling as well, fits very nicely into a lot of builds. It's also the fact that in this game specifically, he needs to go the Spirit Visage to stay in the lane. He needs to get that extra, the early Spectres rather, against the Vladimir. But then this is a funnel composition onto an AD carry in the Xayah. So you talked about Mundo itemizes very well for MR. He's had to go an MR item first, and then he's going to have to invest very heavily into AD to be able to withstand the Xayah.
Okay.
As she gets all the gold flooded into her, so it's going to be super rough for Sleeping.
And you can see now FBI is actually taking a little bit more time. He's marching around the whole map. He's actually cleared his jungle from top to bottom right now, taken away a dragon as well. They're going to look for top lane. However, members of Bombers are already there.
They have some very nice vision setup. So they're now seeing Swiffer rotate over. They're also going to see the sweeper hit, so they know exactly what's going on. Swiffer on the Talia has the Weaver's Wall, so can trap them in, but...
And he is very far behind Swiffer. We have to talk about it because even though FBI 2 levels ahead of anyone, Swiffer is 2 levels behind anyone right now.
Rogue's
However,
looking.
Rogue looking for it. Over the back actually goes Shen. Tiger has been singled out here, and FBI going to look to turn and try and fight. Tiger actually goes through the pebbles, takes a boatload of damage and will fall down. Shut down for Swiffer. Rosie on the back end, so low. They give that one to FBI, and Tally on the back line is just not going to be stopped right now. He is unkillable. You can see they just do not do enough damage to this damn Vladimir. In go to the ultimate goes Swain, but Spooks with another very nice flank. Going to look for a taunt. No, they will just successfully disengage.
And that is disastrous from Bombers. You talked about the composition. Swiffer is so far behind. If Tally isn't in the play, Bombers need to be the proactive
they
team
rip
to
FBI
get
back
onto
again. Big
FBI.
damage come out. He's actually very low now.
And in situations where they can't get onto FBI, if they have to play reactive, if they have to defend and walk away, then they just get torn to shreds by the Order lineup.
Flicks back onto Sleeping, and once again, he's not all that tanky. Even Swiffer does a little bit of damage, and Swiffer's got one item. So he needs to be careful without that ulti.
And some pretty huge things happened here. First of all, look at FBI. He's the one that gets the Shen ulti on the top side of the map. Rosie does a whole lot of damage, and Rogue actually prioritizes him here. So the Fiddlesticks is all but useless in this fight. Tiger has to ult defensively to live, and Shen ulti saves the behind member of Swiffer. And all of a sudden, they're just running away. You have Swain trying to fling some abilities over. Order are a very mobile team. You have the Rakan, you have the Vladimir who can zoom around. Spooks goes for a pretty deep flank, so Bombers, they live for a very long time. Ultimately, they do get out unscathed with the burning of multiple flashes, but they only lose 2, but that fight was a disaster.
And very creative flanking from Spooks actually that whole fight. He started it with a creative flank. He was in their jungle when it started, came over the wall, and then at the end walked the complete opposite way. Potentially, this is a lack of understanding about how squishy supports are, but given the fact that he has 3-0-4 as a scoreline, also is accelerated enough to maybe be creative like that.
When you're a support, and I can tell you from experience, when your team is winning the fight, doesn't matter how squishy you are, you can probably do what you want. So he goes for the flank, he finds it, Rosie gets a nice ward that does Spook, sweep it out. No, the sweep actually falls down before he sees that one, so Rosie gets a cheeky ward that Order have no idea that
That's
it's
the
there.
cardinal sin of actually playing around Baron.
Yep.
If you're going to pink the pit, don't walk into the pit.
Yep.
It just wastes time. Walk
Sweep up
up
the
the
river.
whole river into this brush even here, because that's also a good teleport ward. So Spook's a little bit of a rookie error there.
In terms of contests, Seb doesn't have the flash, so we'll have to walk all the way into the pit, but that ward will tell Bombers exactly what Order are doing if they ever want to look for a flank, because they're going to see exactly who walks into the pit. They don't know what's happening once Order go in, so if they try and set up a bait, as they're doing now, if they do it inside the pit, it's very rough for Bombers to know exactly what's going on. And when you have a Rakan, when you have a Talia, you have a Shen, you can engage over the wall.
And they're doing the right thing now. They're contesting mid lane wave. They're just giving time for Tally, who is very accelerated, by the way, to go back into the side lane. He is level 15, the highest level on the map with the funnel, and is only 40 CS down.
Has the TP as well, has himself a Ghost. He's working on his third item. Very nice pillar, keeps Spooks out of taunt range of Sleeping, who used Flash last fight, so there was no way he was going to get away from the Shen.
Spooks gives a soul over as well. However, right now they've got a Kai'Sa playing into a level 15, soon to be level 16, no, halfway there, Vladimir. Feel like this is a risk, if there ever was one for us.
Yes, absolutely, and actually switched out the Cleanse instead of the Ghost.
They actually blue trinket it. Do they continue this? No, they don't. They just take the blue trinket.
And this is it. Order don't know that that ward's there. So as soon as they go onto the Baron, blue trinket comes out. Bombers spot it, so they just walk away. Back to Tally, though. He did just swap out the Ghost for the Cleanse, so doesn't have that extra move speed to get onto Tiger. But this is level 15 Vladimir versus level 13 with no heal. It's just a TP AD carry, so there's definitely dive potential here.
And Order, time and time again, just walking into the jungle. FBI goes a very risky way. Don't know whether I like to see that. Swiffer at half health as well.
But Bombers doing a pretty good job right now at defending. 3,000 gold lead between the two. Of course, they still have those two Infernals. A fight around the Baron pit could be risky. Fiddlestick's so valuable in the pit. So is Swain in these close quarters.
Funnily enough, I think the Bombers have actually done a really good job of dealing with the funnel, and they should be commended for that. The area that they've done a very poor job at is actually top lane. Tally versus Sleeping right now. Tally is infinitely more useful.
Yep.
He will kill the entire backline, whereas I don't know whether Sleeping is tanky enough to tank FBI for all that long right now.
Not to mention, he's still got his stopwatch, right? You can kind of gauge top laners and just players in general. Like, how rough of an early game, mid game did they have? Like, he wants to build a Zhonya, so he's going to keep a broken stopwatch anyway, just for the component, but he still has that one-time use. He hasn't faced any threat.
So he can go death cap now.
Yeah, and he can just sit on that one-item use, and that's a very big deal. We talked about earlier, Seb invested in the Infernal Drakes rather than bullying around the Vladimir, so now that they're at a position, if a team fight breaks out, that will favor them, but in terms of Tally getting into the back of a fight, it's got to be super rough.
Swiffer actually letting that top lane wave build for a very long time. Does he also give that over to FBI, or will he take it for himself?
It looks like he's actually just going to eat that one up.
That's the first piece of farm I've seen him take off the map.
Yeah, so it's also a very big piece of farm, so gets himself about 90 million CS up on the top side. As,
Meanwhile, Tally bottom lane has been collapsed on by multiple members. However, Order is now coming as well. Teleport's coming in. Sleeping is very big. That's Kai'Sa into the back line. However, charmed up instantly and will just be taken down. Deleted off Summoner's Rift. Now Luch will go golden. Over the wall goes Rosie, but a very nice taunt, a very nice ult. And this is an absolute whitewash. That will be FBI going down. However, the rest of the Bombers members are just not strong enough to go with Tally right now. And you can see that this Vladimir is a very serious problem.
And Bombers just had no vision of the collapse. That's the first proactive play we've seen them make this game. They look for the fight. They try and bring Kai'Sa down to get the pick, but Order read the play. They have the reactions. They have the globals to get down there and absolutely turn it around.
And they only get themselves a dragon because it was FBI that fell down, 25-second death timer.
Not to mention it was on the bottom-hand side of the map. You know, if that fight's in top lane, even without a smite and 5 members dead, you can be like, look, we can just take down the Baron. We get it for free, so ultimately gold lead is the prize here for Order. They only get themselves an air drake that they don't care too much about, but look at the map position for Order. Shen is far away and so is Talia, the two global members, but Spooks comes down here. Tiger this entire time isn't dealing damage, and when he looks to go in, all of a sudden from Fog of War comes a Xayah, comes a Rakan, and there's just nothing they can do at this point. Fiddle gets a nice ulti, is hitting multiple people, but he's just coming into his demise. They've already lost the fight, and Bombers get wiped.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that Tally just had so much threat that Tiger was saying, I can't go, because if I go, he's going to kill me in the duration of pull. Then when he finally felt like he had to go, Tally killed him in the duration of pull.
Yep.
The poor guy can't do anything at this stage. He's not far enough ahead damage item-wise to be able to build MR, although he does pick up a Null Magic, because that's about to be an Infinity Edge picked up. FBI is nearly 2 full items ahead of where Tiger is.
Rosie once again places the ward, this time in vision of Order, so will just be swept out. So they're just going to start up the Baron. 12,000 health.
They do it so damn quickly right now. You can see it's already at 8,000. They've got a level 16 versus a level 14 Smite. Do they even have to peel off this one? You can see teleports are coming in. That is going to be over the wall they go. Baron goes down. However, now FBI is half HP in the fight. Really has started. You can see Rogue on the back end. Tiger doing a great job of trying to put out some damage. And Tally will fall. No, he won't. He is just so damn strong at the moment. FBI is dead, but Tally is not loose. Looking to continue it, however, gets torn it up. Flick will go actually wide, and Tally still looking for it. Will be able to get the shutdown in the end, and you can just see that's a quadra kill. This is actually going to be the pentakill. Tally actually falls down in the end. Shutdown, Mundo eats him, and that's a 4 for 5 in the end.
Penta denied by the headbutt of a Mundo. What the hell, Tally? So close to picking that one up. Now 6-1 and 8 from like a 1-kill scoreline.
I just don't know what's happening in these fights. They're
So
playing a
close.
funnel comp, but everyone from Order is just like, well, you have a peeling ultimate. We're going to see you on the other end, FBI.
But this isn't a super funnel, right? It's not 3 supports and a Kai'Sa. It's a Xayah, but they have other threats. They have the Talia, they have Tally, and we talked about it. The progression of this game, they've looked to shut down the Kai'Sa in these fights, and they did. They killed FBI early. He was stuck in the pit after blowing the QSS, after blowing the Featherstorm that we'll see right now, and he falls down early, but Tally is the true threat here. They're contesting. They know Smite fight isn't even. The level lead is there for FBI, so they secure the Baron, but the flanks come out. Spook, Swiffer buying time, so a big carry threat for the Bombers in Tiger. Can't deal damage, and the entire time, Tally falls very low, but he lives.
Yeah, absolutely. You just see that because there is no healing production on this lineup, every time Tally Qs, he just gets a massive amount. That's 1,300 health back. However, Sleeping wants a piece of him.
If he didn't pull there, he probably lives. You know, he wanted the move speed to catch up, and they're going to get this kill anyway. Rogue dies in the back end as well, so Sleeping gets a whole bunch of shutdown gold. Honestly, that's going to feel super nice. Goes back, finishes his Sunfire and his Warmog, so...
Yeah, he's a big boy now.
He's
Maybe
feeling
he is
good.
tanky enough. However, Infinity Edge picked up, so that's the true damage component now into FBI's build. So strange to say that, but obviously Infinity Edge much more effective than Last Whisper on the current patch in that regard.
And it's all about the ability to get there, right? Crit items aren't bad. You just don't normally finish it by that 20-minute mark when games are ultimately decided in this sort of League of Legends climate. But right now, 4-3-9, almost 400 CS, 100 up on anyone else in the game. The Xayah feels very strong. They have the Rakan, they have the Shen shield, so level 18, he can just walk up.
They're looking for it right now. You can see Order continuing to threaten forward. However, their tanks are not that tanky. They are support tanks. The turret's still taking a lot of damage from these Baron up creeps, and it will fall down.
They do get that one, Bombers. They do have Flash and the Fiddlesticks. They do have tools to potentially win themselves a fight, but it is very rough. 10,000 gold lead for Order, so they just sack the inhib. You know, like, this one is indefensible. Try and push the waves on the other side of the map as you see Tiger go topside as Order look for a pick.
Yeah, because the thing about Order is they don't have Baron buff on anyone but Swiffer.
Yep.
So they can't play multiple lanes. At this stage of the game, you got a 6-1-8 Vladimir. You probably love him to be in a side lane, pushing that wave in, but realistically, not as useful because he doesn't have the Baron buff.
And do they give this turret up? I feel like if you're Bombers, you have to be able to fight this one. One inhib going down for 3. Sure, that's fine, but Luch goes back to base. Once it's 2, it feels suffocating.
Yeah, it certainly does, especially with this gold lead and Tally already burning the Ghost. Just charges at them.
Because he went back, he was sitting on components, finished his Death Cap, finished his Zonyas as well. So he's completely fine, absolutely popping off. He's absolutely huge on the Vladimir. And now that these 2 turrets are broken, sure, Baron is gone. Like, it's going to time out on Swiffer. Already has, doesn't have the enhanced recall. But now that bot inhib and mid inhib are broken in Bomber's base, Order can just set up a siege topside. We talked about their siege isn't that good, but with the base broken, Tally's so big, he can just flank from the side and get sideways access to the backline for Bombers.
Certainly can. See whether he goes back and gets another needlessly large rod. You would think that really Void Staff is probably the better answer at the moment, given the fact that, you know, QSS has been picked up as well as the Spirit Visage.
Tally deciding he has enough gold to buy his next component, sells his Dark Seal, undoes it immediately, wants to keep the 7 stacks.
Makes sense. If you're going to go with penetration as opposed to a large rod, 10 stacks, which you will most likely get to in a fight, is actually more ability power, I believe, off the top of my head.
Then a cheeky little blasting one. Dragon is up, but by the looks of it, Order do not care one bit about that one. Actually, maybe they do. Maybe it is an Infernal, maybe an Earth.
It's an air.
Oh, is it air?
Yeah, well, they have ocean, air, and fire, so the only thing
Yeah,
it can't be
an
is
Earth.
Earth.
And it is. So I'm surprised they actually picked this one up. Maybe they're just looking to wait this out until the Baron spawns and...
I mean, if you can't close the game, if you're not confident in your engage, they should be because they have a Rakan. But if they're not, then always good to have an Elder Drake coming up when you have 3 dragons. Flip side, if you're Bombers and you steal that one,
Feels bloody good, man.
feels real good.
Yep.
They are, however, 12,000-ish gold behind. And I feel like the start of this game went well for them. Like, you can't
given
really
the
go back
draft-
and say what went wrong. Like,
Absolutely. Given the draft, Choo-Choo's even said that, like, their picks do hide the flex very well, right? Like, do hide the fact that it's a funnel until you get to that last lock-in and all of a sudden FBI takes the smite, Tally has the Vladimir, Spooks has the Shen. Until that point, it's very rough and you don't really know what's coming. So from that point in the draft, Bombers, as you mentioned, their early game was fine. They did get early kills. They flanked to the mid lane, got themselves a nice team fight, and are now going to have to struggle to defend this last in-hit.
yeah, their coordination was much better this week. The fact that they were collapsing around Lucha's lane, they were trying to give him some agency to be this beefy Swain. And he's honestly there. He's 4 items at the moment. Most accelerated member. Actually, in they go. They try and get Swain. And they just delete him off Summoner's Rift. That is the biggest member of Bombers going down. And that will be the last inhibitor.
And he has the Zonyas, but the CC chain absolutely perfect. Rogue rather, pulls the trigger, immediately Flick lands, and the Swain dies before he can use anything.
And you call them the mallet. Well, that was just whack-a-mole. Now Tally flashes in looking for some big damage. Sleeping says, I'll try and take him up, fellas. But this is all 3 inhibitors down. And Order looking to close out the game. Big damage coming out of Tally. Fiddlesticks will fly in, will die instantly. You can see on the back end, they're just all falling so quickly. In Order, they're having fun. Second Nexus turret go down. Sleeping comes back in. That's going to be the Shen ultimate used for no reason whatsoever. And Order take game 1.
And I've said this before, Jake, but that was a gold lead team fight. CCs went absolutely everywhere from Rogue and Spooks, but they still do clean it up, so very strong performance. When you're that far ahead, it doesn't matter if your abilities don't land. If
They didn't
your
have a
auto attackers
mid
can
laner.
right-click.
They didn't have a mid laner either. That was a 4v5. Certainly the most fed member of the Bombers was in the Death Chamber. And that decisive ultimate from Rogue at the end there, I think really does encapsulate how Order want to play the game.
And that's, like, it's just very impressive because you know what Bombers want to do, right? They sent members to the other lanes to try and push them out. You want to get those waves out of your base and then go back to defend the inhib. And you think maybe, like, yes, we want to defend the inhib. The turret might die, so you have a little bit of time, but Luch steps an inch too close, and Rogue just immediately pulls the trigger. They blow him through the flash, through the Zonyas, and it just makes end of the game so easy.
He didn't touch the ground. He got ulted, flicked back through the pebble, and
died
2
there.
auto attacks.
Yep.
And that was enough. That was all she wrote. Fell down very quickly. However, early game from Bombers, if we go back to the start, was actually very promising.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they had the ability to take it to them early. Like they did. They found picks. It was a little bit of greed, like Swiffer walking the greedy way up the river. He dies for free on the back end of a botched fight in the mid lane. That was Order being proactive. But I feel like the one play that really just swung the game out of control was that bot lane when Kai'Sa goes down there. Tiger with Sleeping, the 2 imports for the Bombers lineup. They looked for that pick, and then ultimately the collapse comes down. They just get completely wiped, and from that point, it was just Order dominance.
Yeah, I think another thing that would be worthwhile noting is the fact that they cancelled Rift Herald, and that mid lane turret just stood in the game for so long. If that Rift Herald goes down, mid lane turret's there, potentially they can rotate around the map a little bit more easily, but Rogue's play there just stifled that play.
Because in the inverse as well, like Order opened up mid lane fairly early. They broke the outer ring at something like 15 minutes or something like that, and they had an open map, whereas Bombers didn't. And when you're someone like Rosie on the Fiddlesticks, you want to be able to walk around. Like, we've seen Trance do it, where he gets unlocked onto the map early. He sits in a pink ward and is a huge threat. Rosie felt tied to the bottom lane, and he couldn't really look for things. When he goes topside, they lose the fight anyway around the Rift Herald, and it just didn't look like Bombers had a lot of options from that point.
All right, we've seen one funnel from Order, week number 2, disastrous. This one looked a little bit more convincing. What do you take on it? Is this a better way to play the funnel with the duo laners together?
I mean, is it better? Like, patches have changed. Funnels have literally been nerfed, and they're 2 different funnels. We saw the super comp where you have, like, the Morgana, you have the Taric on something like a Tristana, which was at that point pretty weird. We hadn't really seen 80 carry comp, so this is more of a standard funnel in that you have other carries as well. You have Tally on the Vladimir, so I'm not willing to call one better, but it's definitely very different. And I feel like for Order as a team who, at times, they can just, like, especially FBI, he can just make a dumbass play and he can taunt Juves and then he can just die.
Absolutely.
And so the fact that you have a Vladimir, you have Swiffer on a Talia, that feels good, that you have fallback options. So I like it. Thumbs up. Double thumbs up.
Cool, double thumbs up from Egypt. That means that Order will take game number 1. However, guys, don't go anywhere. After a quick break, we're going to be back with Nick Boy and Cyclone.
Hey guys, I'm excited to share the details about a new community creative competition. The music cover competition will give the Oceanic community a chance to show off your musical prowess. Whether you're a singer, an instrumentalist, or in a band, we want you to enter and show us your talent. We've selected 3 tracks from our League of Legends music library for you to choose from and cover. The Curse of the Sad Mummy, a Mumu's theme.
Every child in Valorant has heard the tale before.
Lightbringer by Pentakill. And Varus's theme, As We Fall. To enter, upload your cover through our WooBox submission as well as on YouTube. Entries close 11:59 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, 22nd July 2018. Once the entries close, our internal panel of judges will select, then announce our group of finalists on the 30th of July. From then until the 5th of August, the community will have their say, voting for their favourites. The winner will then be flown to a recording studio here in Sydney, where they will have their cover professionally recorded. We'll then premiere that cover at the 2018 OPL Split 2 Grand Final at Rod Laver Arena. For full terms, conditions, entry, and pricing information, head to boards.oce.leagueoflegends.com.
Hungry Jack's 5 for $5.95 Super Stunner. Grab a single, double or triple cheeseburger and get small chips, 3 nuggets, small Coke and a drumstick mini. Stunning value from only $5.95. Available all day, every day.
Multiple members coming in now from Order. That is going to be a return kill. Luch going forward will take one back, but it's a double kill over to Order. Tiger has been singled out here, and FBI going to look to turn and try and fight. Tiger actually goes through the pebble, takes a boatload of damage and will fall down. Shut down for Swiffer. Rosie on the back end, so low. They give that one to FBI. Charmed up instantly and will just be taken down. Deleted off Summoner's Rift. Now Luch will go golden. Over the wall goes Rosie, but a very nice taunt, a very nice ult. And this is an absolute whitewash. That will be FBI going down. Baron goes down, however now FBI is half HP in the fight. Really has started. You can see Rogue on the back end. Tiger doing a great job of trying to put out some damage. And Tally will fall. No, he won't. He is just so damn strong at the moment. FBI is dead, but Tally is not. Luch looking to continue it, however, gets taunted up. Flick will go actually wide, and Tally still looking for it. Will be able to get the shutdown. Second Nexus turret go down. Sleeping comes back in. That's going to be the Shen ultimate used for no reason whatsoever. And Order take game 1.
I'm back with Cyclone. It was a good win for the